All right, so let's go ahead and start. My name is Madeline Gepp. Welcome to our free training every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Every Wednesday we hold this training, and you can always come and view it using the same phone number and link. All right, so let me go ahead and show you how the training works. To limit background noise, everyone is going to, by default, be on mute. If you have a CRM question or a topic, go ahead and type it into the GoToMeeting chat box. If it's a little bit more, a little bit longer than what you can type, you can go ahead and ask to be unmuted, and I'll unmute you. I'm going to start with a brief introduction of Web Fortis. And then we'll jump into the training, and it'll last about 30 minutes. If you have additional CRM questions and help, go ahead and email me. That's my email there, mgep@webfortis.com, and I'll show that again at the end. Please stay on topic. Sometimes bugs and specific problems come up. This training is meant to cover all of CRM and using CRM. So we can take it offline if you have other issues that are very specific. And then, like I said, again, use the same link and phone number to join the training next Wednesday at 10 a.m. So a little bit about Web Fortis. We have been in business since 1996. We have about 45 employees, I believe, all up and down the West Coast. We have offices in Seattle, in Santa Rosa, Sacramento, Walnut Creek, and Los Angeles. We can do anything with your CRM, implementation, customizations, training, anything that you need to have done with your CRM, we can go ahead and do it. The 3 books that are shown here are the 3 books written by our CEO, all of which are Amazon bestsellers, and you can find them on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. So here's my contact information. I'll show the screen again at the end of the training, but let's go ahead and jump right in. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type it. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump into some things. I'm going to go ahead and start with some basic CRM. Recently, I've gone into a lot more advanced topics, and I kind of wanted to bring it back to basics, at least for the first part of this until any questions come through. So right now, I am in my Dynamic CRM. Which is in my Outlook. I'm using Dynamic CRM in Outlook because there is some functionality available in the Outlook client that is not available in Internet Explorer. I'm going to go ahead and go into Workplace and then Customers. And in customers, I have accounts and contacts, and these are going to be the 2 core records. Accounts are going to be organizations and larger groups of people. Contacts are going to be the individuals, sometimes within the organizations or a company. I can change the view by going and clicking this button. Change the view. I can go ahead and click New, and this will bring up the account record. So we have account name. Red asterisk means it's required. Blue cross means it's suggested but not required. So we have basic information here. We have our list of contacts here. To add contacts, we could go ahead and click. It'll turn blue, and the ribbon will change. However, we do need to save it first, hence why it's grayed out here and grayed at the top. If you ever see that in CRM, it's because you need to save it first. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. And I see a question just came through, so I'll get to that in a second. So account name, phone number, basic information like I said. We could go into contacts. Click it, it'll turn blue, and the ribbon will change. Best practice is to create a contact from the account record, and the reason being I didn't fill out any of the fields in the account because I'm just kind of going through this really fast, but they would be filled out. So if we filled out the phone number, that would be in here, email, that would be in here, address, that would be in there. So all you would really need to do is first name, last name, and any other information you want. So again, more information, department, gender, marital status, etc. I also want to note that there is a notes and activities area here, which we'll get to in a second. So I'm going to save and close that and get back into the account record. So if I scroll down, I have the notes and activities section here. To add a new note, I can click it, put new note, and click away. And it'll date it, timestamp it, and say who it's from. So we also can add activities. I'm going to go ahead and click an activity. And I can click add new activity, and activity is going to be a task, fax, phone call, email, letter, etc. So we could go ahead and select phone call. We give it a subject. Write any notes about it. We could give it a due date. So it'll be due next week. At this point, we could save and close it. Or the other thing we can do is hit mark complete if this is a phone call that's already been made. And what that's going to do is that's going to remove it from open activities and move it into closed activities. So that is accounts, contacts, and activities in a nutshell. And those are really the three core record types that are in CRM. So the question I have is about workflows. So to get into my workflows, I'm going to go down into settings, and I'm going to go into the process center. I'm going to go ahead and select processes. I'm going to go ahead and select new. And the first thing that's going to pop up is a screen to identify the name and the type of entity. So I'm going to give this a name, sample workflow, and let's do this specifically for accounts. And then we're going to select the category, and the difference between a dialogue and a workflow is workflows happen in the background, either by on demand or by an action happening. Dialogues are where you actually work with the workflow. So it'll pop up a screen. Do you want to do this? You say yes. That would prompt it to show a different screen. So it's really a dialogue that you're having with the computer and with the system to come up with the next question or the next thing that needs to be done in the process. So we're going to go ahead and go with workflow. And we can either use a new blank process or we can choose one from an existing list. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And so this is going to be the workflow form. So again, we have the process name filled out. We already selected the entity and you cannot change it. If you decide later on that you want a different entity, you'll have to create a new workflow. However, you can create it as a child. So you could change the one that you create and make it a child, and then you would have the new entity that you had work into the other workflow, if that makes sense. So we have the process name, the entity, the category. Again, you can't change that. We can activate as a process or a process template. So then we are prompted with these, and an on-demand process. Let me minimize this real quick and move to a different screen. Let's go to accounts. So an on-demand process is going to allow you to hit run workflow, and then you would be able to run the workflow from selecting the record, and it would be for that record. So that's going to be a on-demand workflow, and so we're given that option. We're also given the option for it to be a child process, which will save time and coding if you're using the same process over and over again. So if you do not select as an on-demand process, we also have start when the record is created. So every time you start a lead, you want to send them a thank you email. That would be an example. When a record status changes, so perhaps every time the owner of a record changes, you would like to be notified, sent an email. So we could go ahead and do that. When a record is assigned, that's pretty much the same thing except for more specific. When record field changes, so we can select so that when a lead turns hot, it is we're being notified, or the owner changes, or something of the likes, or when a record is deleted. So again, notification, we can send a workflow to be notified whenever a record is deleted. So in this case, let's go ahead and do when a record is created. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and select the row and start to build out the workflow. So we'll go ahead and hit add a step. And let's go ahead and say check condition. Actually, since we did when a record is created, I'm going to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And delete this step. Okay. So actually, when a record is created, perhaps I want to be notified and I want to send the person an email. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add step. Let's say send email. So at this point, we could either use a template or create a new message. We go ahead and hit set properties, and we can build this email out. So in the from, we're going to want it from, maybe it might be from the owner, maybe it might be from a generic web address, the CEO. It could be anyone that is in your CRM system. Just say from user, we'll click OK. It's always going to be from me. The to is going to be, we're going to want to go into dynamic values and account, and we want All right, we want it to go to the account, so we'll go ahead and click OK. So it'll always be from me to the account. Then we can give this a subject. I'm just going to say thank you. It'll be regarding the account, so that way it is being tracked in CRM. And we can start to build this out. Dear first name. So these dynamic values allow us to go ahead and look into actually primary contact is what I'm looking for since I'm in the account record. Primary contact. Go add, click OK. Thank you. Your account number is, and again, we can add another dynamic value since it's already in CRM. Click OK, and then we can build this out even further. At this point, we could hit save and close. And maybe there's another step that we need. So let's go ahead and add a step. And maybe we want to update a record. So we're going to update the account record. Let's go ahead and set the properties. And maybe every time we create an account, we want to mark it as trying to think of a good example off the top of my head. The account rating, we'll say they're always brought in as a standard category. We can also set different things so that their credit limit off from the beginning is only $10,000. Unless we go in and change this, it'll always be $10,000. So we could change anything, and their payment terms are always going to be net 30, etc. So we could go in and change as much of the form that we would like. At the end, we could go ahead and hit save and close. And then maybe you also want to give them a phone call after 3 days. So we could add step, hit wait condition, and let's go ahead and click it to change. Let's say create date, created on, is greater than should be the created on and then we could go ahead and add another step. And we can create a record, and we can create an activity record. We can give this. Another thing is we should be giving this descriptions, especially if you have a large workflow. It'll give you more to go on. So maybe we want to give them a phone call. So we could go ahead and put phone call, hit set properties, and initial contact. Okay, so once we're happy with the workflow, we could go ahead and hit activate. It will not actually become a it will not actually become a workflow until you hit activate. It's not actually going to be active. So now we could go ahead and see that it's activated. If we select it, we won't be able to change anything until we deactivate it. So there's a question of how can we get a reminder in Outlook for the activity. When activities are created, it's already going to be by default into your Outlook. So if you create a task, it's going to automatically go into tasks. If you create an appointment, it's going to already be in your calendar. Phone calls also show up in tasks as well. So there's no need to actually push it to Outlook. It'll automatically go there for whoever the owner is set as. So also, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. If we wanted to do it for opportunities, we could go ahead and say you would have to create a new one. The entity you would want to select is opportunity. Select the category, workflow. We'll go ahead and click OK. And the process is going to be very simple, or similar, excuse me. Be able to select rows and add steps. Again, we have check condition. That's going to check conditions. The wait condition, you can set it up so that you have phone calls in 3 days, create a record, update record, assign record, send an email, start child workflow. So if you have another workflow going on that you're using for various things, you can go ahead and do that. Change status. That's going to be if we haven't heard from them in 3 years, we might want to change status to inactive, and also stop workflow. So if it's in the task list and it's not showing up, you're not getting a reminder, this is going to actually be a Outlook functionality you'll have to set up. So if you go to File, Options, Tasks, it should be in here. Set task reminders on tasks with due dates. Keep my task list updated with copies of tasks I assign to other people, send status reports when I complete an assigned task, etc. So this is where you'd actually set up the notifications. It's not actually a CRM functionality. It's actually Outlook options. All that CRM has to do with it is putting the tasks in the task list. So we have another 3 minutes if there's any other questions. All right, at this point, I'll go ahead and just put up my contact information. And again, come join us next Wednesday at 10 a.m. same phone number, same link, everything. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.